Assalamu alaikum, girls. Welcome back after your holidays. Hope you had a relaxing one. This is week 5 of term 3. Inshallah, this week will be the last week of theory topics for you, and after this, we will delve into practical topics for this term. The last theory topic you are covering is operating systems and types of computers. So, we are actually covering two topics today. The objectives of today's lesson is to understand what is an operating system, what is a UI, what are the types of UI, and we will also try to understand what are the examples of CLI and GUI and what are the differences between them. After this, we will look at what are the differences between the various types of computers. So let's get started with our first topic. The first topic we have for today is operating system or OS and types of UI. So before we start operating system, let's look at the pictures here. You must be familiar with most of them. This is the logo for Apple OS. This is the logo for iOS. This is the logo for Windows. And you must have seen this as well, the logo for Android operating system. And what is an operating system? It is any system software that manages the general operation of your computer system. As you know, when we learned about softwares, we learned that they are of two types: application software and system software. And we learned that the main example of system software is operating system or OS. It is the OS that manages all your general operations, like deciding which app to run, which app should get more memory in the computer, and so on. And all of these that you see here are examples of operating systems. Then what is UI, also called the operating system interface, also called the user interface? The UI or the user interface is that part of your OS which is used for communication between the computer system and its users. It is actually the visual interface for you as a user to interact with the computer. And there are two types of it: CLI, command line interface, and GUI, graphical user interface. So, if you look at these pictures over here, it's a good example of what's a CLI looking like and what's a GUI looking like. You must have seen a black screen sometimes on your computer with white writing, and you have to type things here for some apps to work. This is actually an example of CLI, command line interface. This is the type of interface where the user has to type in commands and then the commands will run. But this is the one you're most commonly familiar with, which is a GUI, graphical user interface. As the name says, it's graphical. There are pictures, there are icons, there are menus telling you what to do. And as the name says, a command line interface requires you to type in commands one by one. A command line interface, as I said before, requires you to type commands one by one to interact with the computer. And you as a user, you need to learn these instructions to type them in. This is actually a slow process, as you might have figured out by now, and this requires a complex code for even most basic functions. So if it has so many issues, then why do we even have CLI? The advantage is that if you are an advanced user, you will be able to have direct communication with the computer system, and you will not be limited to a number of set options. So as you can see, the command line interface is mostly for advanced users and mostly for programmers when they need to directly interact with the computer. So what's a graphical user interface? It is the GUI that allows users to interact with the computer using graphical icons or visual indicators. As you can see, the most common GUI is WIMP. WIMP stands for Windows Icons, Menus and Pointing Devices. Windows means all your GUI will have some kind of windows, right? And the icons are these. For example, these are all icons. And what's a menu? The menu is like your start menu, the menu you have on the bottom of your Apple. These are all menus. And the pointing device is your mouse pointer. So this is an important slide for you where we are going to compare what's a CLI and GUI and what are the differences between them. The advantage of a graphical user interface is that it is easy to use because of the visual nature of it. The user has a lot of visual clues on what he must do, and there is less chance of errors here, and it is quicker to input commands. But the disadvantage is that to display all the nice graphics, you will take a lot of computing power. So this is not good for computers which have less memory capacity. And you as a user, you are restricted to predetermined options. You cannot go anything beyond what the icon is offering you. The advantage of a CLI is that you will have direct communication with the computer and a wide range of commands are available for use. The disadvantage of command line interface is that you have to remember all the commands you want to type in, and all the commands require you to manually type them in one by one. So remember that this is an important slide for your assessments. Now, in this slide, we have three computers given over here, and we are going to identify which is the operating system interface used in each of the three computers. So let's quickly name them one by one. This is number 1, 2, and 3. In the first computer, you can see there is a black screen with white writing on it, and the user has to remember what command he has to enter and type them in. So definitely the first one is an example of CLI. In the second computer, you can see that some options are here, some menus are here, and there is a pointing device and some icons are here. So definitely this has to be an example of GUI. In the third computer also you can see some icons are here, and this then definitely has to be an example of GUI. Alright. Now that we are done with the first topic, you will complete task 1 from the task sheet. Open your task sheet and you should see task 1 over here. In task 1, there are 6 scenarios given. And for each of the scenario, you have to mention which type of user interface is best for this scenario. So I will do one example with you first. Number 5 requires you to suggest a UI for a video calling app for older people. So definitely older people need something easy to work with, something with graphical icons, and something that does not require them to type in a lot of commands, right? So the best example UI here is GUI. Alright. So pause this video over here and complete all of task 1 first. If you have come back, then I'm assuming that you are done with task 1 from the task sheet. So let's move on. We are moving on to the second topic of our lesson today, which is types of computers. We are going to be covering 4 types of computers today. But before we start, we will go to our task sheet again and complete task 2. In task 2, we have a thinker here and he is thinking of 4 different things. And there are 4 computers on the side. What you need to do is copy the correct computer to the correct bubble on the thinker's head. Alright, this is an easy one. So pause the video here and come back when you are done with task 2. If you are back, I'm assuming that you are done with task 2 in the task sheet, so I will continue with the types of computers now. The first type of computer we are discussing today is a desktop or a personal computer, also called a PC. A PC is short for personal computer. In the past, before PCs were introduced, computers used to be very huge and take up even a whole room sometimes. Because computers were basically used for calculation with NASA and for scientists and such big applications. But in the 1980s, desktops or personal computers were created and they were small enough to fit on a desk. That's why they got the name desktop. These computers were very cheap and made affordable for the public, and that's when the public started to buy the computers instead of it being something used only by scientists. The desktop computer usually has a separate monitor, separate keyboard, separate mouse, and so on. The second type of computer we are discussing today is a laptop computer. This is a computer where all the components are together in one single device. So as you can see, the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, our speaker are all together in one device. The main advantage for a laptop computer is that it is portable. Portable means you can carry it around. And you can also connect it wirelessly to a network connection. There are no wires hanging from the computer. The third type of computer we are discussing today is a tablet computer. A tablet is really very similar to a smartphone. Can have an internet connection using wireless, and it also makes use of touchscreen technology where you are selecting options on a menu or particular icons using touch. And you can also install and download multiple applications on the tablet for your use. The fourth type of computer we are discussing today is a smartphone. Smartphones can do all the traditional things that a normal phone can do, which is making calls and sending messages, but it also has an operating system which allows them to run multiple apps. You know that in your smartphone you can download multiple apps and these can run on your computer on your smartphone. And this is possible because it has an operating system, which is Android if it's an Android smartphone, or it can be Mac iOS operating system. Like the tablet, your smartphone has many features, including touch, internet connection, sensors, and camera. Let's think of one sensor that your smartphone has. There are some smartphones which have the option of when you flip it over, the smartphone will sleep off. This is because it has a sensor technology to understand what orientation the smartphone is lying in. And also, you know that these days we have face print recognition, fingerprint recognition, iris scan recognition on your phones. These are also using sensors. Now let's look at what are the advantages and disadvantages for all the four types of computers we discussed today. This is an important slide for your assessments. The advantage of a desktop or PC is that it is always connected. It can come in many sizes. You can easily upgrade and replace the parts, and it generally has a higher specification than laptop computers, which means you can run heavy applications on it. But the disadvantage is that it is not portable. It generally takes up a lot more desk space, and the separate components are required, and there are usually loose cables which can cause you to trip or fall down. A laptop computer is portable because of its small size and weight. You can recharge the battery and use it multiple times. It can connect wirelessly, so you do not need cables for it. But the problem is that it can have a limited battery life and it will be difficult sometimes to repair or upgrade. It can also get stolen or lost, and sometimes users find it difficult to use the touchpad as a pointing device. The third type of computer we discussed today, which is a tablet computer, has a high definition anti glare display. You can use wireless Bluetooth and 3G, 4G with it. The data can be backed up or synchronized on another computer, like sometimes you back up your iPhone on your laptop. It uses touchscreen technology, and the battery life is generally longer than a mobile phone. But the disadvantage for a tablet computer is that it has a limited memory compared to a laptop, and it is expensive to use 3G, 4G. Typing can be more difficult compared to a keyboard on it, and not all files are compatible to be run on a tablet. The advantage of a smartphone, which is the fourth type of computer we discussed today, is that it is small in size and easy to carry around. We can use it while on the move using wireless or 3G, 4G, and touchscreen technology is available on it. But the disadvantage is that the small screen can make it difficult to read long documents. The battery life will be short. Because it's portable, it can be misplaced or stolen, and the limited storage or memory compared to other types of computers. Now that we've discussed all the advantage and disadvantage of the four types of computers, let's go into our last task or plenary for today, and this is a Kahoot quiz. So if you come down below in your task sheet, you will see the link for the Kahoot quiz over here. Copy paste it into your browser. As a username, give your proper full name with your class, and then you can play the quiz and close your browser. That's all for today, girls. Make sure you submit your task sheet on Edmodo, and your Kahoot quiz is done and completed as well. Hope you have a good week ahead of you. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.